Hey gang, and welcome to Taste Around Studio 3. I'm Will Meadows.
And I'm Sara Meadows. Today we're talking about the board game Ezra and Nehemiah.
Hey gang, today we're doing a review, preview, overview, I don't actually know what to call it, of the game Ezra and Nehemiah. This is coming to Kickstarter soon from Garphill Games, and it's from designers Shem and Sam Phillips. Now the reason I don't actually know what to call this game is because typically on our channel, if you watch any of our Kickstarter conniption videos, those videos are typically, not always, but typically sponsored in part by the publisher. They've either pursued us and asked us to do a review of their game, or they've provided us, with a copy, or they're going to give us a demo copy or something like that. It's a little bit different in this case because we actually pursued Shem in this case because we saw this game come and we are big fans of Garphill Games. And so we actually asked them if they'd be willing to let us play their game and make a video out of it. So we are going to be walking through the game just like normal, show you how it's played. This is a Kickstarter game. This is a prototype game. It's an early version. But we want you to know right out of the gate, no funds have been exchanged in this. However, take our opinion with a grain of salt because we like Garphill Games. So
it also is a prototype. So
it is a prototype.
Things are potentially going to change, but as finished and completed as the rules are and how big of a game this is, minor tweaks probably may not.
Yeah, so don't consider this a full review of the game. There are potential changes that could happen in the game. However, looking at this pre-press copy, we're going to jump in, show you guys how it's played, basically give our opinions on it, and then you guys can make your decisions from there. So let's jump in, and without any further ado, let's talk about how the game is played.
To set up the game, you'll put out the main board, and you'll populate the different sections of it based on your player count.
Some areas of the board will be different every time you play because you'll randomly choose different tiles or cards to put out, affecting your gameplay.
You'll put out rubble on all of the wall sections of the board, and you'll place everyone's different colored markers as well.
Each player's board will also be set up with all of their pieces, some randomly drawn tiles, and then everyone will receive their colored cards, and then you're ready to begin.
The game takes place over the course of 3 rounds, each represented by 6 actions or cards played, and then a 7th day of rest or Sabbath where points will be scored and items reset.
On each turn of the game, players will play one of the cards from their hand onto a slot on their board, and then take one of the 3 main actions. The more cards they have played, and the more banners they have revealed, the more powerful their actions will become.
Players can also place out workers on both the main board as well as their own, and then players can take auxiliary actions where they can upgrade tiles or use actions on their cards.
During the Sabbath round, players will have to feed their family, and then get to tuck some of their cards to help with future actions and in-game scoring.
They will compare locations on the altar track and will hopefully score points and gain rewards and not gain penalties.
At the end of the game, players will tally all of the points they've earned from repairing the walls and building gates, from teaching the Torah and moving up on that track, from achieving their goals, and from the resources that they've collected, and then the player with the most points wins. So if you've watched either of our top 10 lists, you'll know that Hadrian's Wall is one of our all-time favorite games. And we're also big fans. We've had an opportunity to play all of the North Sea and the West Kingdom, all the other games that these guys have put out. We are big fans of their work, and so we are probably biased in our opinions of them. However, I enjoyed this game. There's a lot of really great stuff going on in it. Some of it felt similar to some of the other games we've played. The card layout, engine building, growing your power thing is a little bit reminiscent of Viscounts, where you are in this game, you're going to lay 3 cards, and then in this one, you're actually going to overlap those cards. You're going to stack them. So for your 6 rounds, you're actually going to play the first 3, and then you have to overlap each one of those cards as you grow your powers throughout the course of the game. And then you're going to be able to tuck those cards to get the resources and to get that extra banner, and then to get the in-game scoring at the end of the game. A lot of familiar things going on in this one.
Mm-hmm. One difference, I think, from this game to some of his others is the theme lends itself to working together a little bit more on building the wall. I think there's a lot of points for building the wall. A lot of points to be gained, but you can't
She keeps building me by beating me by building
by building more of the wall. Yeah, which is kind of the point of this game.
Makes sense.
The theme-wise. The benefit is if you build a gate and then the things next to the gates will also trigger some bonuses once you've built next to them. So both players can share in some of those bonuses. If you build both things next to one another, there's no bonus. You just get it one time. The other thing that I think is important in this game is making sure that you follow along with what the track is with the Levites, and that will be all the red banners in the game. If you can't keep up with the sacrifices that are being done and making sure that you're far enough on that track by Sabbath, it can be pretty detrimental to your resources and just your things in the game that you're managing, because you'll not only lose so many points for not being able to feed all your family when it comes to Sabbath time.
2 negative points per worker you can't feed.
But you don't have to feed the Levites, but you do have to pay food to place them on the board. But then you're also getting a negative penalty to not get, if you're not far enough on that track. So I have focused in those two areas. I have won both of the times I've played.
The two of us have played with each other.
Yeah.
In this game, I think what you were kind of getting at, which I agree with, is that the theme actually does fit the mechanics pretty well. Like, you're collaboratively working on the wall. You're individually trying to get points in the game. It's not a cooperative game. It is a competitive game. But there are some nice little elements in there where if you go and teach the Torah, it's going to give you more abilities to use later on in the game. If you work your way up the Levite track and you've got your workers going into the temple, then you've got more power to be able to stoke that fire and to be able to offer sacrifices. If you are moving your tent around the city, you're collecting bonuses. Like, there's just a lot of things in the game that feel thematic to the storyline, and the actions that you're taking in the game feel pretty thematic for being, wooden cubes on a board or whatever. So I really thought the tie-in between the story and the mechanics of what you're doing in the game fit really well. In Hadrian's Wall, there's like a ton of theme where it's like the purple guys are the rich, wealthy people in the green, but I don't really know what I'm doing there. I'm just marking off X's. In this one, you can only offer your black and brown cubes on the altar, which is wood and cinder. You can't offer stone. Obviously, you can't burn stone in a fire. So, like, even the resource management in the game was thematic, and I thought it was pretty neat.
Also, when you build a section of the wall, you get to place one of your cards out to mark the spot, and you get to draw 3 and pick one, and then the ones that you don't use, you get to select one to go back on top so that it's available the next time as a choice. I did appreciate that, because then it lets me plan, like, I don't need any bread right now, but I'm really going to need bread next round, because I know I'm probably not going to be able to use this one bonus card that I had on the trade, because I put it away as one of my options to gain the bonus for the end game scoring. So that is also one thing I appreciate, is like Hadrian's Wall and some of the others, you have those cards, and the one that you select to not use the rest of the game is your end game scoring choice. So that felt very similar, but we're using it in a different way than we had in some of the other games.
Yeah. There's a lot of things going on in this that we haven't mentioned at all. I mean, there's a pretty deep,
we haven't even
game.
talking about unlocking things on your own player board, making
additional goals that you can update. Yeah. One that I was going to mention is that kind of similar to Hadrian's Wall, and I don't always feel this in games that aren't roll-and-writes, is the chaining of things, which is really neat. So you've got the blessings, those 3 jugs that are on your board, and you're going to be getting those throughout the course of the game to be able to bump them up the track. A lot of times you can unlock an additional sacrifice on the altar, and then when you go do that, you move up the altar track, and that gives you an additional bonus over there, and that gives you the food that you needed so that you can feed your family. Like, for being a Euro worker placement game, there's a lot of, like, ding, 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 ding moments, which I very much enjoy in any type of game. I don't always get those in this style of game, so I thought that was a great incorporation.
One other thing I enjoyed about the game is I haven't focused as much on the Torah section, which is the blue banners where you spend them to access the tiles in that section, and they get progressively better the higher up on that section that you go. They're also more expensive, and some of them can give you some good end game scoring. I found that a lot of times I maybe didn't have the right number to do what I needed, and there is this other little section with the tents that you can move your tent around in this rondelle section and gain bonuses, and I appreciated that you get everything that you pass instead of just, I can go 4 spaces and get this one item. I can move 3 and I get this and this and this, and I'm really needing, most of that stuff. So it worked out really nice.
It feels generous as you hop around and you're like, ooh, I get a purple jug move blessing, and I get some bread, and I get another worker. And while it feels like you're getting a lot of stuff, the resources in this game are pretty tight too. So you're also always like, oh, I need one more gold cube. Where can I get that gold cube? Oh, if I go over here, but to do that I got to do this over here. So lots of planning, lots of tight resource management. I think the game has like a 3.25 or something complexity rating. It's not hard to play, but there's a lot to think through on your turn, which is pretty neat. I also really like, and again, this is just prototype, but I really like the instruction manual for this because they have it broken clearly into like, this is the red action on this spread, and these are the blue, explains everything you need to know about the blue actions on this spread. And so the instruction manual is decently long, but it's not overcrowded, and it's easy to like flip to and be like, oh yeah, everything I need to know about this section is right here. So whoever did the rule book, good job.
One thing about the rubble on the board is while you are helping each other work on building the wall, and you're gaining resources, possibly and bonuses based on what you build next to, those are first come, first serve. So if you, in the beginning of the game, you aren't going to have very many action, like ability, because you haven't built up. Yeah, you have like 2 banners, which doesn't allow you may be able to take off 1 piece of rubble. And it is easy for other people to swoop in after you've removed rubble and build the wall on the space that you've cleared. So there is a little bit of that first come, first serve on those, and it may be next to something that you wanted that bonus and now you don't get it. So there is player interaction that way. There is also player interaction as far as the Torah track of first come, first serve, because those are all one time, one player gets whatever tile they go on. And then there's also a little bit of interaction with the way that the sacrifices work, because you're filling up a grid, and whoever places the last piece to finish that section will get a bonus. So you'll have to time that well and maybe save up some pieces, sacrifice, so that you can get that bonus. There's a little bit of watching and paying attention to what other people are doing in that as well. For sure.
There's a fair amount of player interaction. It's not the type of game where only one person can go get the resources in most cases, which I liked. There's a bunch of different places to go out on the board with your workers to take actions. But yes, there are some things where this first guy's going to get the bonus, or this guy's going to be further on the track. I also like their tie-breaking mechanism, which is whoever's the furthest on the altered track wins all ties throughout the course of the game, which is pretty interesting and straightforward. So, man, lots and lots in this game. Plenty to talk about. We could go on and on more. Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But if you're interested in it, you can definitely check out Ezra and Nehemiah on Kickstarter. You can see all the stuff they have in there. Let's be honest for a second. Was there anything you didn't like about the game? I got one right out of the gate, and this has happened with all of their games. It doesn't all fit back in there. They try to pack too much awesomeness into their small boxes. It's tough. This is the prototype. Maybe the other one will fit better. It won't. None of the other ones fit either. Other than the complaint on the box size, I really, really thoroughly enjoyed the game.
I appreciate that the boxes are all the same size.
I think I've played it 5 times now at different player counts with different players in different styles, and I've enjoyed it every time. I feel like she crushed me the first 2 times that we played it, and I feel like my abilities in the game have improved, like my strategy has improved. I feel like there's still plenty of room to grow. This game has plenty of replayability for me.
Yeah, I do have to say, the first time I played, I sat there thinking a really, really long time, way too long, about what do I need to do first to get my engine going. And then I realized, what should I focus on? Because usually in some of these Euro games, you need to pick 1 or 2 areas to really work hard in, and then not so much in one of the areas. And while that's kind of true, there's only 3 sections. So you have to play all of them. There's no way to not play. I mean, I don't think there's a way for you to not play all of them without taking really poor actions if you neglected something completely.
Each of those 3 actions also has sub actions in them, though, so it's not. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I agree. I kind of went into it assuming I'm going to go heavy on 2 of them and light on 1.
And then I ended up not doing it.
Balance.
That's how I also went into it. And then the section I wanted to neglect, I ended up being the furthest on the end of the game because I thought I was neglecting it, but really I didn't start with those actions. It was actually the red track, the first game I played. So I started off really heavy with, I'm building the wall, because that's the whole point of this game, and I'm going to get all these tile bonuses. And then I was like, oh, the last 2 turns, I have all these red banners. I guess I'm going to do this. Okay. So I did the red actions, and by that time it's powerful, because I have 3 cards out. And then, the next round came around, and we played, and I save the red for the end, and I was like, oh, they're really powerful. If you wait to take that action, whatever action you want to take, if you save it until you have 3 cards out, at least the 3rd turn, then it's very possible that you can have powerful actions for whatever you save. So that kind of changed my thinking about how I was going to proceed with a strategy in the game.
As you can tell, she thoroughly enjoyed it. She didn't say anything negative, and she gave you a whole explanation of how to play a random strategy in the game. Lots and lots to check out. If you're interested in this type of game, be sure to check out Ezra and Nehemiah on Kickstarter now. Thank you to Sham and Sam for hooking us up with this copy. We super appreciate it. We've enjoyed it. We'll be passing it on to others to enjoy and play. And as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in, liking, following along, and subscribing here at Tantrum House.